very good afternoon from the sports desk. Let's focus on football now. African champions Banyana Banyana will test themselves against Brazil in two friendlies. The first encounter is at Orlando Stadium and kickoff time is at 6 p.m. with the second one at the Moses Mabhida Stadium on Monday night. Our sports reporter Hloni Mtimkulu joins us from the Orlando Stadium for a chat. A very good afternoon to you, Hloni. So we haven't seen the WAFCON winning side since they won their title. We haven't seen them in action since then. How important is this match going to be, particularly, Hloni, when we consider that the World Cup is next year?
Nandi, so first of all, I want to say the team has just arrived. They walked, oh, not walked in, they were bussed in about 15 minutes ago as we were waiting to come to you. But just to say that the importance of this match, we know that it is the World Cup, the Women's World Cup taking place next year. We know that South Africa had their first taste of World Cup action in 2019 in France, and they lost all three of their matches, you know, and so they want to do better than they did at that edition. Coach Ellis has talked about how they don't want to just be there for the numbers, that they've learned all the lessons that they did in 2019, that the draw was quite unfriendly to them in 2019 with Spain, China and Germany, you know, so they were always going to have a hard time, but that they do want to do better now. And to do better, they will need to come up against very strong opposition. And you see this fixture now, these two fixtures today and on Monday against the 9th ranked Brazilians. So there is a plan in place to kind of see if they can get themselves to a standard where they will be able to compete against the world's best. The draw hasn't been conducted yet, so we don't know who they will face. So hopefully the draw for 2023 will be a lot kinder to them than it was in 2019, Nandi.
Hloni, you know, it was a huge achievement to win the WAFCON. You know, we're not saying that it wasn't. It was a historical achievement. It was a great achievement. But are there any areas that Ellis thinks that need a little bit of improvement? I mean, you did mention that she spoke about some lessons that were learned the last time around.
Yeah, so this is one thing that Coach Ellis has talked about, that up front especially, you know, there are concerns there for her, but she does say that it's not just a Banyana Banyana problem, but a general South African football problem, you know, so this is the one area where she talks about that the work does need to be done there. But we've seen her make a few changes. I mean, you know, her squad for the Women's AFCON had a few changes from the squad that did duty in the 2018 edition of the Women's AFCON. And I mean, those players that were left out are still in action now, but she just said she needed versatility then, and I think she's kind of getting that right. But just in terms of that, I think the one thing is in the striking department where she does have concerns. But let's hear a bit more from Coach Ellis on what she is looking to improve from these friendlies and the ones that will come ahead leading up to next year's World Cup.
Obviously, you know, do better defensively, because the goals that we conceded, as I said, we could have done better. We could have come away with not conceding at all. It's individual and collectively. And of course, when we get in front of goal, you know, we're a team that creates so many opportunities, and that has been an Achilles heel of ours. If we can get that right, if we can get more shots on target, we will be able to score more goals, and we would most probably have won more games that we didn't win. So those are the areas we're looking at getting better, but also when we have the ball, you know, to make sure that we make the right decisions in the final third, also to protect the ball a lot more, keep possession of the ball a lot more, and make sure that, you know, we control the tempo of the game. When we were in WAFCON, we clearly did that. Now we've got to do it at a higher level where we're a little bit more under pressure.
Hloni, let's talk a little bit about the Brazilian side. They are ranked number 9 in the world. What can we expect from them? How tough is this encounter going to be?
Just off of not just Brazil, but how South Africa did in the build-up to that 2019 World Cup, where they had a number of teams that were ranked in the top 10 and even in the top 20. You know, it was very difficult. It was hard going for South Africa, and they weren't able to win any of those matches. So they played Norway, they played the US as well. You know, they played Japan building up to that, and it was just very difficult. And you could kind of see the difference just in terms of the quality between South Africa and Banyana Banyana. And we kind of expect that it will be that, you know, the team at yesterday's media day did acknowledge that obviously Brazil is a much better team. So we expect that from the 9th ranked team in the world, Banyana Banyana are 54th in the FIFA rankings, that it will definitely be a hard contest for them. But even if you look beyond 2019, leading up to this year's Women's AFCON, we played against the Netherlands and we didn't do so well there as well, you know. So I think it will definitely be a hard contest for South Africa. Brazil Brazil came off their own Copa, or their own women's Continental Cup competition in July as well, and they won their 8th title. You know, they were unbeaten in that competition. You know, in their group matches, they scored something like 17 goals, I think it was. You know, so they are a very free-flowing team. They talk about how what similarities they have with South Africa are the skills that they have, that they're a fast team. So we'll have to see if, in terms of what they say, Brazil says about South Africa and the speed and the skills, if that will match up with Brazil, if the two teams will be able to match each other. But just in terms of that, we also did speak to the assistant coach of Brazil, Lili Persson, and this is what she had to say just about what the teams are to expect from each other and what to expect actually from the Brazilian team as well.
We have won the competition and we have a pretty new team, young players, a good mix, I would say, with, like you talked with Hafa before, old players and a lot of new young players. And of course they need time, but we find some very young, interesting players, especially in the attack, I would say. So. Yeah, I think you can expect a lot of creative styling.
Hloni, you mentioned that the team has already arrived at the stadium. This is somewhat of a huge homecoming for them, and being able to watch them in action after winning WAFCON. How are things looking at the stadium? Do you expect it to be a full capacity crowd?
So I think this is going to be the very interesting thing about Banyana Banyana's AFCON victory. You know, whether all the talk, there was a lot of talk certainly on social media about, you know, paying the team equally and supporting the team and that sort of thing. And I think that's going to be the interesting thing, to see if fans do come out in their numbers to support the team, so that it's not just lip service, all the things that were said, you know, in July and last month as well. So at the moment, there isn't a big crowd that is out here. I mean, we were able to get through. Once we got past the M1, just getting into Soweto and then into Orlando here, we were able to get through very easily, actually. And we know that for other big games, it's always a bit of a mission to get through here. So, you know, in terms of spectators for now, there isn't a big crowd yet. So we hope that as we lead up to, well, for the next hour until the match kicks off at 6 p.m., that there will be more fans that are coming through. I mean, tickets are just 50 Rand. I know there has been talk that maybe they should have been free, but they are 50 Rand. We'll have to see if people will heed the call to come. Desiree Ellis did say that they want a big turnout for this match because they want to thank South African fans for all the support that they did show them since they won that women's AFCON title in July.
All right, it's about an hour left before the match. Hopefully we will see more fans going to Orlando Stadium. Thank you very much, Hloni. That was eNCA sports reporter Hloni Mtimkulu as we look ahead to Banyana Banyana's friendly encounter with Brazil. All right.